corrupt spiritual leadership. This is a sin to avoid. One, we do not want to commit uh, spiritual leadership that is corrupt. We do not want to be corrupt. You do not want corrupt pastors. You do not want corrupt deacons. You do not want corrupt Sunday school teachers. You do not want corrupt people speaking into your spiritual life. So that's one way you need to avoid that. The second one is that you yourself do not need to be a corrupt spiritual leader. You may say, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a Sunday school teacher. Might not be exercising some sort of spiritual leadership. You are. We are leaders of somebody, even if it's just one other person. You have an influence. John Maxwell says this about leadership. He says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so you influence unbelievers in your life, and you influence your friends and your family that are in your life. So you do exercise spiritual leadership, and you yourself need to make sure that your spiritual leadership is not corrupt, that you are influencing people for the good, that you're doing spiritual good to the people around you. So we see in chapter 17 just an utter corruption of the spiritual leadership. So there was a man in the hill country of Ephraim whose name was Micah. And he said to his mother, the 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, about which you uttered a curse and also spoke it in my ears, behold, the silver is with me. I took it. So he said, Mom, you have lost a lot of money. And that money that you said, cursed be that person that took that, I was the one that took it. The silver is with me. And then she, in an odd way, responds, blessed be my son by the Lord, because he stole my silver and hid it from me. So then then he gave the 1,100 pieces of silver back to his mother. And then his mother does a very sinful thing. She dedicates the silver to the Lord from my hand for my son to make a carved image and a metal image. She's taking this silver and dedicating it to be made an idol. But notice she's dedicating it to who? To the Lord. Corrupt worship. This is being done by the mother of the household. Mamas have a great influence on their children. Dads have a great influence on their children, and she is exercising corrupt leadership here, corrupt spiritual leadership. So he makes it into a carved image, and he makes an ephod, which is a apron that the priest would wear, makes household gods, and then he ordains one of his own sons to become his priests. And we see that there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in his own eyes. They are worshiping the Lord the way they see fit. Here's a reality we need to get in our little minds, is that God tells us how to worship. God is the one that determines the worship that he deserves. We should worship him in the way he commands. You have no right, I have no right to worship God in a way that he has not prescribed. I cannot ask you to do things that the Lord has not asked you to do, and I should not bind your conscience and make you worship the Lord or do things for the Lord in ways that he has not called you to do. And we see in Israel, everybody was just doing what was right in their own sight and their own eyes. But it gets even worse, because a Levite from Judah begins to sojourn up there. And the man departed from the town of Bethlehem in Judah to sojourn where he could find a place. And as he sojourned, he came to the hill country of Ephraim, the house of Micah. And Micah said, where do you come from? He says, hey, I'm a Levite from Benjamin. Remember, Levites are supposed to be the spiritual teachers of Israel, supposed to be spread out throughout all of Israel, teaching them the correct ways to worship God and to understand the laws. And Micah said to him, here's what I want you to do. Why don't you stay with me and be to me a father and be a priest here? And I will give you 10 pieces of silver a year and a suit of clothes for your living. Again, Micah is worshiping the Lord in a wrong way. And sad to say, the Levite, who was supposed to be the spiritual representative of the Lord, he was content to dwell with the man. May God not give us spiritual leaders who are content to be in sin. The Levite was content to dwell with the man. And then Micah said, now I know that the Lord will prosper me because I have a Levite as a priest. The twistedness of their logic. They're worshiping the Lord in ways he has not prescribed. And now Micah thinks just because he has a Levite in his house that is disobedient to the Lord, that the Lord is going to prosper him. Just twisted logic. Make sure that you are obeying the Lord and that you are avoiding corrupt spiritual leadership, and you yourself are not exercising corrupt spiritual leadership.